live.
Good morning, Patriots. Time for coffee. It's Good Joe. Not Morning Joe, but it's Good Joe. Anyway, welcome to everyone. I hope you all had a good Father's Day. I know I did. My oldest son, Alexander, fireman and medic extraordinaire with the Arlington County Fire Department, was down with me. We did kayaking and, grilling, burning things to eat in a good way. No, not a bad way, a good way. So it was a good weekend and very nice. Anyway, I am always joined by the man who is, I think he was once played by Ed McMahon in a movie, right? Is that true? You were played by
Right. I'm
Heyo.
I actually
the
got to
Chris Cordani story starring Ed McMahon, right? Was that the movie?
yes, and I did get to play a cameo in that movie. I was one of the guys who was at the front door receiving a big check.
There you go. Wow,
There
there
we
you go. That's a good news thing. So
My
Chris,
protest
how
is
was your weekend? Tell us about your weekend. Was there anything good or bad about your weekend? That was
absolutely not. A lot of home repairs that kind of snowballed into more home repairs.
I got to do that.
But it was manly, and I did it, so all good. However, my protest to the world in growing the new Steve Bannon haircut seems to be working. I think it's starting out. So, Tony, when Steve Bannon is released, because of, and I think we should all grow Steve Bannon haircuts out there. But my question is, whose haircut are we gonna grow when this kind of blows over and Trump becomes president and we kind of have a little more fun with?
I don't know.
Well,
Well, truth be told, I'm doing the Steve Bannon 3-day growth. I mean, I didn't shave for this morning's radio show. So, well, this is not really radio, is it? This is technically, what would you call this? This is not really a blog.
It's video.
It's
video. And
really?
It killed the radio star.
It did.
That's
right. And I'm wearing, by the way, speaking of video, one of the great Sea of Mud T-shirts, the Heartbeat of America, Donald J. Trump T-shirt. You know, it was his birthday on Friday. Happy birthday, President. Yes. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Do you think Marilyn Monroe would have sung Happy Birthday to Donald Trump?
I believe that's possible. She would have sounded very old, but still, I think it would be possible. Happy birthday to... sorry, my teeth
She would be pretty old, wouldn't she?
That's right.
She'd be up there.
Oh,
but
Barbara.
She could be a golden girl, right? I mean, she hadn't been either killed or committed suicide, depending on one's POV. I don't know what happened, but something happened, right? So,
well, I believe the Golden Girls, as they were about our age, which is a scary thought. I wanted to
it is scary.
I did want to ask you for style advice, Tony, because I'm growing the Bannon. But after I do the Bannon, I was thinking about some other great politician haircuts I wanted to emulate. So let's try this one.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson.
Oh.
Or
yeah.
Nope. What do you think?
Keep going.
Do you think I'd look good there? Well, you see, I think I'd look great in the Beavis or Geert Wilders haircut.
Man, see, it's like those guys probably spend 2 hours in the morning just going through and teasing each hair, because I don't think that's natural.
I wouldn't be surprised if you watch.
Probably go through like a can of Aquanet every morning on that. It's like you got to keep spray. You get like comb, spray. It's like shellacking a wall. I mean, it's like it's like that kind of skill. So I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if he looks at television with his best friend and starts laughing like this.
Go back to Boris.
Okay, they got another one for you after this.
Oh, good. Okay.
See, he gets the babes, though.
Well, it appears he gets the babes. Just saying, I've been around those circles, and I'm just, I don't know. I'm skeptical whenever time I see like someone like that, who essentially looks like he does look a bit like what's his name from The Family Guy, Diggity.
A little bit like Quagmire. I guess that does.
Quagmire. It looks like Quagmire. Maybe that's why he gets the girls. I mean, maybe.
Here's another one. This haircut is a complete babe magnet. Michael Fabricant of Estonia.
Ooh.
That's what I was thinking right here. I think I'd look good there. Besides, I think I'm going that way too.
Who is that? Now, what does he do?
He's an Estonian politician. On the right, his name is Michael Fabricant. Yes. Yeah, I dig up the haircuts.
Man, you do. I mean, this is thorough research. Have you thought about going to work for 60 Minutes? I mean, you're being far too truthful, so you'd have to like abandon being factual and just kind of make stuff up. But I'm just saying,
You ever wonder why? Yeah, you ever wonder why Joe Biden walks around?
I love anyway.
Like he looks like he's lost somewhere. Well, I do. Apparently, he's just looking for the ice cream truck.
Let me do it. Let me do it. You ever wonder why plastic shrimp? No, I screwed it up already. Who actually eats shrimp? And is it really jumbo? I don't know about that. My shrimp is always small. I don't know where they get the jumbo part from. And then, by the way, why is it they call things like silverware silver? It's not silver. It only wears. So I miss Andy Rooney. Andy was a good guy back in
Oh,
the day.
he was fun to watch. Always a fan. And then, of course, the last but not least, the other great haircut when I get a little older, it's going to be the Martin Van Buren. I can join the Van Buren gang too. You're
But
astonished.
you gotta like go with the sideburns then too. I don't know.
Mutton
I don't know,
chops. There we
Chris.
go.
I don't know. I'm just saying good morning to all the folks here in the chat. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the hair thing. Have you thought about doing Lex Luthor and just kind of going with a wig and being bald otherwise?
I thought about that, but I've been told I was a couple of I was a mustache and a couple of books away from being a supervillain. So maybe the
Ah,
bald head would get me in a little bit of trouble.
by the way, stop right there. Do you think Doomcock would be willing to come on and join us? Speaking of supervillains, that
If he
could be
wants to
fun.
get up this early, that would be terrific.
I'll have to ask him. You know,
Yeah,
we're
we'd like.
friends with the super villain Dictor von Doomcock, so he's a great guy.
Yeah, we
He'd be
cavort with
fun.
supervillains. Imagine that. Isn't that great? Speaking of cavorting with supervillains, did you get to see Biden
Well,
freeze again
they're
on
like our
stage?
kind of supervillains. I mean, they're
Yes.
yeah.
Did you get to see Biden freeze on
I wanted
stage
to bring it
again?
up. So I guess it was interesting because well, his controller controlled him. Did you see that Biden was then grabbed by Obama and kind of let off?
Yeah, that was a little strange too, and, I believe we have the video if you wanna check that out again, if anybody hasn't seen that one yet.
Yeah, please. Let's do the video.
But yeah,
Do the video. Let's go
this
to
is
the
sick.
video.
Alright, let's do that. Alright, you're looking normal now. Oh no, what happened?
Come on, Joe. There's tapioca over here for you.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's that's a macrocosm of American or a microcosm of American
Come on,
politics
Joe. We
today.
got a sponge bath and tapioca over here on the side of the stage for you. Come on over.
A little ice
The
cream
noise
never hurt
confused
anybody.
him. No, the noise didn't confuse him. He's just confused in general. Yeah, it's nice try. But T Augie, yes, yeah. I think electricity and civilization confuses Joe Biden. Just saying. I don't think Joe is like caught on to what's going on. So it's
Come on, man.
if anybody thinks at this point that he's actually president, then I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I want to sell you, literally. So I'll
Oh,
give it to you at a really good price, only $1 billion.
oh, come on, man. I mean, we're just at an inflection point. I mean, no joke. I mean,
So all right, so I'm going to throw this out to the audience because they're active this morning, and thank you all for being here. It's always great to have you. Does anybody? Let me phrase the question in a way that we can discuss it. Do you, Chris? The audience think? Yes, time for more tapioca. Do you think? Does anybody think? Does anybody think that Joe Biden's going to make it to the convention? I want to get kind of the feel, the zeitgeist. So, what do you think, Chris?
I believe he is going to find a way to make it to the convention, but most likely virtual. I mean,
I don't think so.
he might make an appearance there. He might make a virtual appearance, but there is a chance, and I do believe that that's going to be the time where the Democrats pull the switcheroo and they bring somebody else in.
I don't know. He poops more than a schnauzer that got a hold of X-Lax, for God's sake, and I think that's going to be a problem for them. It's like just trying to contain anything he does. By the way, I have a question also. So this came to me yesterday. I don't know why it did. I was off doing something. Do you think that he's doing the Middle East peace negotiations the wrong way? That is Biden and his company. Do you think they could do it better?
I believe my dog can do these better. I mean,
So
this is
so
terrible.
so that's what I thought about. So do you think maybe if they took old Spanky Banana, Tony Blinken, and deployed him in the Wienermobile, painted in Israeli and Palestinian colors, and let him drive through the Gaza Strip? Do you think it would help?
It might, but first off, as it stands now, the Wienermobile is Air Force One, the Weenie Mobile, that is. Okay, that's where it stands right now. The
We should probably ask Ashley Biden about that. Just saying.
Yeah, or maybe Kamala Harris, but that's another story.
Did you
Anyway,
know that community banks were important because they were in the community? Did you know that? She said that. I'm quoting her directly, by the way. That's a direct Kamala Harris quote. Community
she is.
banks are important because they're in the community. Wow, that's deep, man. That's
She
like apocalypse now level deep. Like
that's like during Revenge of the Nerds too, when when they were smoking on the
yeah,
island when they were let off
I was
and
going back and
overdosed.
forth with Eddie. Is Eddie Deason? Is his last name?
Eddie Deason, yeah.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with him over the weekend a little bit. So yeah, he's a good guy. He's a
He,
nerd. He still is a nerd, but he's a cool nerd,
he
right?
has an interesting story as to why he was not in Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh,
He tried out for Revenge of the Nerds, but he was told by the casting, the producers, that he was actually too nerdy. They wanted to dress up the pretty people like your like Carradine and of course Anthony Edwards and people like that. They wanted to dress them up as the nerds to make it funnier. That was the plan.
was it funnier?
I would have liked any Eddie Deason movie is a good one, so I would have liked the movie with Eddie Deason in
I
it.
think so. I mean, I know, and he's a funny guy. For those who don't follow him, he's on Facebook. He does really cool things. He was doing things over the weekend on Facebook. He's a very interactive guy. So, anyway, speaking of interactive, I got to do a quick read here for the Wellness Company. Our friends at the Wellness Company want to help you protect yourself against all hazards, foreign and domestic. Oh, that's my line with Blaine. I shouldn't be using it, should I? Right, Chris? I'm going to get in trouble for using my own copyrighted stuff. Anyway, Wake Up Patriots is a special deal. If you put, if you guys go to checkout for the Wellness Company at checkout, put in "Wake Up," that's us. You get, get $30, nearly $30 at checkout. Who wouldn't want that? So, several kits you need to get. I'm waiting for mine to show up, by the way, just saying. So, you need to get the contagion emergency kit. You know, you walk into the lobby, you see Anthony Fauci there. He's a walking contagion. Just saying, it's like I need to treat myself after. It's like some people you shake their hand, it's like, oh my God, it's like So that's what you need to have that contagion emergency kit just in case. And of course, a medical emergency kit. You need to have one of these in your trunk. I do. I have it in my car. You never can tell. I've actually had occasion to use it with the Boy Scouts. And of course, when you travel, the travel emergency kit, when you're on the road, who would not want to have something on the road when you're traveling? And let me give you a little hint. There's no way to. I don't care if you wear masks. Don't work. My son's a medic and a fireman. We were talking about this over the weekend. Masks simply reduce the number of particles. Basically, the basic moisture particles that you will push out or come at you. Actual little viruses, they get through. They're not going to be stopped by even some of the best masks. So get prepared. Be prepared. Get the 8 life-saving medications that will be available to you. Get all these other things that are available. Again, you need to go to the Wellness Company. Let me give you the website here because I've got to get to it. thewellnesscompany.com and put in our information. Go in for Wake Up. We are the team, the Wake Up team. That's us, Wake Up America, and stay safe. That's the issue. So I apologize for being a little bit disorganized because I had to pull this out from some other documents this morning. This is actually my office, by the way. I actually do my studio is my office, so we're always doing things. So anyway, again, get the emergency wellness kit, get all these other things that will benefit you, go to thewellnesscompany.com and go to checkout, put in wake up. And that way you get the discount and you get the best that money can buy regarding your personal protection. The emergency medical kit, there it is. You need to do that. You need to have that available. So anyway, back to the show. Chris, are you still there?
I
Oh, there's Cheryl.
I'm not still there because I need a little bit of coffee. There we go. I'm
Morning.
never
Cheryl, good morning. Welcome
Good
to Wake Up
morning.
Patriots.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. Happy Monday.
Hi,
Happy
Cheryl.
Monday.
Hi.
So Cheryl's with the Washington Times, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and they're a good paper. So you guys are like the other side of you're the good side of the coin of the Washington Post. You guys actually report news. They do things for Jeff Bezos, right? I mean,
Yeah. We're the good guys. They're trash. So
yeah. Well, I think it's true because I mean I think everybody recognizes now that they simply put out left wing talking points. They're like the Chris Plant calls them like the stenographer of the left. Would you agree with that? I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything. Just saying.
Well, let me put it this way: they're Joe Biden bootlickers, basically, is how I see them. So,
and those are pretty nasty boots based on everything else that Joe Biden goes through. Just saying. It's like,
yeah.
It must be frustrating to see those people run defense for him constantly. It has to be exhausting.
Constantly, right? I mean, the media just fawns over this administration, and it gets a little bit humorous to see the denials about his mental decline, how the media just jumps through hoops to say, oh no, he's doing great, he's the smartest guy on the planet.
Well, I mean, compared to who's in the Washington Post newsroom, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about that and some of the other issues that you guys are dealing with, and you actually do a lot. We've been on. We've done other shows together. You've done. I think I've done your podcast. You've done my podcast.
Yes.
And it's always fun. So we have this live audience. They're very interactive. And one of the things I wanted to talk about this morning was exactly what we're just talking about now is Biden. And I don't see how they're going to prop him up sufficiently to get him through to November. What do you think? I mean, I think the 25th Amendment is called for here, and they're not going to do it.
Yeah, well, they've got some strong drugs, right? Because the fact that he has made it this far, and he still is able to stand on stage, even though with all the help he needs, is miraculous in itself. But I'm still one of those holdouts who believe that the Democrats definitely want Joe Biden to be their candidate for
I'm with you.
presidency.
I've come around. I'm with you now. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, he's the perfect guy, right? He's the puppet for all the leftist Marxist agendas that they want to shove through. And he doesn't know what he's signing. He doesn't know what he's saying. So that makes him the perfect Democrat leader. Yeah.
By the way, Chris is showing your Bold and Blunt podcast, which we had a good time. I know I was very blunt. And I always thought it was bold and blunt and beautiful, and you're the beautiful part. So there you go.
Well, thank you.
Nice, the bold, the blunt, and the beautiful. I like that.
You should have that in there. You can have that for free, right, Chris? You're not going to copyright that, are you?
Well, they can't put the bold, the blunt, and the eye candy. Apparently, that's taken by some of our audience
yeah.
members here. Yes.
So just so you know, yes, the audience calls me eye candy over here on Wake Up America. I guess their eyes are pretty blurry this time of morning. Just saying. So.
Right, and they call me the guy that has to wear a paper bag.
Oh, that's not true. They call you Mr. Van Buren. That's what they right? So Cheryl, back to Joe, Sleepy Joe. It's beyond Sleepy Joe. It's kind of like it's like popped up Joe. It's like what's the character in Apocalypse Now? It's the reporter at the end.
Oh yeah.
He's a god, he talked to me today. It's like he's like really hyped up now. I think Joe is, so.
I was going to say Weekend at Bernie's, but Apocalypse Now. I guess that would work too. So.
See, that could be. We should bring it up to. We have one of our friends is Susan Olson from the Brady Bunch. Chris, we should bring it up to her. We should pitch Apocalypse Now meets Weekend at Bernie's and see if we can make a movie out of that. That would be.
Add in the Manchurian Candidate, and you have the perfect movie.
Oh my, oh my, the things we come up with here. So, but back to Joe. So you saw him freeze up. Chris, can you bring that back up? The freezing on stage with Barack Hussein Obama. And I don't know why people get upset with me using the middle name of the president, right? Hussein, that's his name, right? Am I
That
am
is
I
his
am I
name.
making anything up? No.
I thought it was Esmeralda, but they changed it
Esmeralda.
because it was his original name, and they changed it to Hussein. I guess that's what happened.
I thought it was Shaky.
Shaky?
Hussein Shaky. Or no, was it Shaky? I don't know.
Was it Spanky?
Spanky. It could have been Spanky. I don't
There we
know.
go. Or
Anyway,
Alfalfa. That's
but
right. It was Barack Alfalfa
Yeah,
Obama. That's the
alfalfa.
original name.
Alfalfa.
That's
The
hoping he goes
He-Man.
into trouble with
I
that
think
one.
I think he was in the He-Man Woman Haters Club. I'll say that about it.
That makes sense.
It all comes together.
Heyo.
That's right. We're circling the square there. So there you go. All right, Cheryl. Back over to the video. So here we are at the George. By the way, who's that next to Biden on Biden's right? I can make out Obama. Who's the guy? Is that Gavin Newsom next to him?
I can't tell. It could be. I can look that one up for you, but
I
I
mean,
can't tell who that
I
is.
know that Gavin Newsom's hair was a major fundraiser in California, so I knew that would be
It's
a
probably
major
him.
draw.
Yeah, that looks like
Yeah.
him.
But
And
look
he's
at
bringing
that.
up the
Look at
rear
that.
here too, by the way.
Come on, Joe. I got a sponge bath and some tapioca over here for you.
Hey, can I
Isn't that
join
sad?
Kevin for that?
It's pitiful. It's pitiful. It's a national security disgrace, really.
Oh, it is. No, I talk about this all the time. So
Yeah.
what do you make of so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems to me that they are so focused on putting their guy back in power, they're literally almost begging our enemies to act out against us. What do you think, Cheryl?
Well, the Democrat Party in general is not a party that loves America any longer, right?
Right.
Even under the days of Bill Clinton, as much as I detested his policies and his morals and everything, the party under him didn't hate America. This is a brand new Democrat Party that really ratcheted up under Barack Obama for anti-American agendas. And so
Right.
the idea of Joe Biden being their leader is just perfect. And Democrats absolutely love this moment in time because they have
Yeah.
somebody who can be manipulated by the globalists who want to take over America anyhow.
So I was talking to former Congressman Kurt Weldon. Kurt and I are friends, and Kurt came up. He's from Pennsylvania, and he and Joe were friends back in the day. Kurt was a kind of a middle of the road, not super duper conservative Republican. Great guy, good friend. I love him to this day, and he was friends with Joe Biden. But two things about Joe Biden, he told me, and I hope Kurt doesn't mind me saying this. Biden's nickname in the Senate was "Quid pro quo Joe." You could not do anything without giving Joe something. So he's always been compromised. But now I think, let me ask you this as a compound question. I think literally Joe sold his soul to the Democrat Party to be president. He didn't care what he's told to do now. So he's just, like you said, kind of the perfect vessel to pass through their policies. Isn't that an accurate assessment of Joe?
Absolutely. And I think his wife is right on board with selling the soul as well, because look, she just enables him. And then she makes the media rounds to pretend like nothing's wrong with Joe. He's the same man he was 40 years ago. And it's so disingenuous to the point of being offensive to the American people, right? That we're all supposed to watch Joe reach out a hand to shake, the hand of some ghost and tell a guy in a wheelchair to stand up, take a bow, that kind of thing. And call Kamala, right? Call Kamala the president and so forth. We're supposed to pretend that's not happening. It's a little bit offensive.
So, Cheryl, I don't know if did you catch it over the weekend? Kamala Harris was doing a speech, and she pointed out that community banks are important because they're in the community. Did you know that? I did not know that.
I had to write that down. It was so important. Wow. It's in my notebook now. So, yeah.
I feel so enlightened.
Kamala. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So there you go. There's the high school debating. By the way, I hate to divert again, but I need to. So what exactly is Jill Biden doctor of? My theory is that she's a doctor of dental proctology. Do you know what she is or not is? I mean, I'm just theorizing here, just spitballing it, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't. Right?
She's an EDD. She's a doctor of education. No, she is an EDD, a doctor of education. It's not a PhD. It's not a PhD.
Yeah.
And it's not a medical doctor. She's
Okay.
an EDD, a doctor of
It sounds like something you'd catch from a visit to Tijuana.
but basically she's very learned when it comes to indoctrinating children. Basically,
Maybe that's where Joe met her
that's
in
what she
Tijuana.
is.
Is that possible? I don't know. Anyway.
Well,
Well,
word is that she was always a terrible teacher, though. Too, I've spoken with people who had her or were in the
interesting.
school.
Tell us more. No, tell us
Yeah,
about
well,
this. I've
let's
never
hear
heard
this.
this. This is great. Go on.
That
Do
she
tell.
was very, very boring, very uninspiring as a teacher, and it just, it goes with the persona, right? It goes with what we think of her already when we see her on stage. She's not
Well,
very inspiring.
no, I like it when she talks about the bodegas in New York. I love when she goes down, talks about the bodegas. And
Very
then of course
learned, yes. There's
who
that
doesn't love,
EDP emerging.
and who doesn't like to go to Miami because of all the great breakfast tacos? Whoa.
Heyo.
Heyo. Oh my yes.
We're gonna
Man.
get Cheryl in trouble now.
We're gonna get kicked off the show. It's gonna come back and say no more show for you. My God, this is
Come back 1 year.
no show for you. All right, back to the Bidens. So, but this is the issue at this point, because as much as we're trying to inform and educate, we are trying to entertain, but making fun of this, I think, helps relieve some of the pain, because this to me is painful. I've testified before Joe Biden, by the way, on Able Danger back when I was a whistleblower, and even though I think he was, Arlen Specter was the chair of the committee back then, before he went wacko and went to be Democrat again or something. I don't know what the hell happened to him. Anyway, he was still a Republican. I testified, and people were actually curious about, the 9/11 failures. And I think even Joe was, but it seems to me that any curiosity that Joe even had at one is gone. And now it's all about three things for the left. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl. I don't want to get you in trouble, but one is this Green New Deal. It's all Marxism wrapped in green. It has nothing to do with economic development or saving the planet. I've got a degree in environmental studies. CO2, you're worried about CO2, plant more trees. If you're worried about vehicles, build more efficient vehicles that burn like they do now. Most vehicles now burn and produce CO2 and water. Pretty. And by the way, CO2 is not a gas that causes any global warming. It's not a greenhouse gas, despite what they say. Water kind of is. Okay, you got me on the water thing, but I don't think we can live without water. And the second area that they're trying to push right now, clearly, is this idea that we need to pay for everybody's sexual transition from boy to girl to girl to boy and everything in between. So that's the other thing, is like they want to upend the basic construct of society. So that's the first two things. And the third, you mentioned it already, is this globalist trend that we should be essentially subordinated to some other larger entity that essentially will allow a third party to dictate to us our freedom. So what do you think about those three items as the agenda of the left and through Biden?
Absolutely. So I think you lay that out pretty well. I think the globalism, you can tie that to the open borders, because that's part and parcel of the long-term agenda to ushering globalism. The green agenda, the radical green agenda, has been a long-running narrative of the far left. I remember growing up with the whole thing with the hairspray bottles and the acid rain. Don't go outside, you'll get burned, and all the stupidity that went along with that. It's all about control and power and the redistribution of resources, actually. It's global communism with just a few global elites at the top dictating to us how to live. And the transgender goes along with all that, the LGBTQ agenda. I agree with you, Tony, because it directly targets the family. The the building blocks of any society. And so if you remove the idea from families that they're important, that there should be a father and mother and tradition and so forth, and God forbid, biblical values, if you take that away, that just leaves a big void for the government to come in and control families and by default individuals. So
Right.
it runs together like that.
So yeah, so I'm glad we're framing it that way, because I want people to understand that when you and I are critical of the left, it's because we're critical of their manipulation of facts and figures for purposes of trying to create the perception that, oh, they're just trying to help you. It's like, what? No, they're not. And so let's break that down a little bit. So one of the things that I am always going off on is the Green New Deal, as we talked about. Now, at this moment in time, there are 4.05 trillion trees on planet Earth. That's a lot of trees. And each tree burns on average about 48 pounds of CO2. And if you do the actual math, there's no crisis. There's no crisis. The seas aren't going to rise. I mean, Cheryl, do you really think that Barack Obama would have torn down the Tom Selleck Magnum PI house and built a beach house there in Hawaii if he was worried about rising seas, or the 17-acre estate he bought in yeah, there you go. So that's first. And secondly, when you look at the actual construct of this, I live here in North Carolina. Next to me over in Elizabeth City, they have a bunch of these windmills, and they only work in a limited condition of circumstance. So if the wind is lower than 7 miles an hour, they won't work. If it's above 18 miles an hour, they won't work. So that's it. You got to have that view. And oh, by the way, they have never produced enough power to make themselves economically sustainable by themselves. They have to be always sustained. So I'm going down that path a little bit. And yeah, there you go. And we have these solar fields, which literally take up all this green space that could be otherwise used for agrarian purposes. I live right next to a farm. Literally, I mean, a quarter mile, two-tenths of a mile from my house is a farm, and they're doing all this. These things take away from land that could be used for crops. So this whole green thing, and then the most severe to me is that if we as a society push for the 30% of renewable goal, that is to say that they've set up, Biden and company have set up this idea that 30% of all transportation has to be renewable, that is electric, by 2030. There's not enough lithium on the planet to do it in the current reserves. You have to have literally tens of thousands of poor African kids literally out every day in Central Africa, pulling the stuff out of the ground. And then you have the disposal issues. Like, okay, you use this stuff all up. There's no way to recycle it. So to me, and oh, by the way, once you get people on the power grid, who controls the power grid? Well, utilities control it, but the government then can intercede and decide who gets power. It's all about, to me, moving us towards the social credit system that the China's on. So that's a lot to take in, Cheryl. I kind of went all over the place, but I wanted to throw that out to you as a kind of this is all Marxism as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it actually, it sounds like a lot to take in, but it's all on the same road that you just aptly named, that you rightly named Marxism, right? The road to global Marxism, global communism, really collectivism. If you just want to put a word on it, right? Because people will dicker over, well, it's socialism, not communism. It's not communism, it's Marxism. It's all collectivism. It's the same danger. And in America, it's actually even more perilous, because we take our rights and liberties from God-given liberties. And, if you remove that, which we are rapidly doing because people are growing more and more secular in America, then that opens the door for the idea of the state and collectivism to take precedence. So, the science that you presented about the Green New Deal and the environmental agenda, it's all correct. But for the non-scientists out there, I would just ask, how come the 12-year doomsday clock never changes? How come it's always 12 years? 5 years pass, and it's still 12 years if we don't do this right away, if we don't stop driving, flying, eating meat, and so forth. It's always 12 years.
Well, to me, here's the question, Tony and Cheryl. I got a question for both of you. Should we
Yeah.
change the name of the Green New Deal to the Brown New Deal because that's what it's full of?
Yeah.
Well, Joe Biden is full of brown stuff, so I
There
guess it
you
would
go.
fit. Well, there was a great video out. You've probably seen it with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez
Yes, my
and
favorite,
and
the doll eyes.
Senator Markey
Yes.
out in the woods with Mr. Brown stuff himself, Joe Biden talking about the Green New Deal. Just by the way, notably, Senator Markey is a Marxist. It's in the name, and so if they're touting this, it's like kind of like, how is it you don't see these people who are lefties touting this as a solution? It's like it's not about science if they're touting it, and I want to hit that because I've told this to the audience. They can go check it for themselves. Do your own due diligence. I've got a degree in environmental studies. I got it from Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, back in 1986, and I had to actually study the environment. From memory, Cheryl. I had to draw from memory, no books. In a 2-hour final exam, I had to draw from memory to include drawing it and diagramming a nuclear power plant. There you go. Man, oh man, that's talking about, boy. And what is she doing with her hands there? Is that like she's doing like the form of HR Puffin stuff or something? Is she like having an HR Puffin stuff vision?
She's trying to
HR
speak like
Puffin stuff?
Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny. There we go.
That's right. So, and look at Markey. It's like he's like the skeleton there on the side. It's like, I'm gonna get those little. I'll get your kids. I'll get you and your little dog too.
He's certainly no Bismarcky.
He's no Bismarcky, that's for sure. Well, I don't think the Bismarckies like him. Just saying, I don't want to get down that path. But anyway, I digress. And they're from the same area too, by the way. It's all Massachusetts. So anyway, back to the show. So I'm trying to make a point here because I am as much a credentialed expert in environment as anybody else who has a degree, for better or for worse. And I know the left doesn't like it, but it's true. And I've pointed out over and over with my degree, and I actually had an internship with the city of Kettering, Ohio, where I had to learn about city planning and all this stuff. That was a requirement. So it's a legit degree. And to your point, Cheryl, I've always looked at what they're saying politically and saying, that's not what the science says. The science says something else. But they always find these there's 10,000 climate scientists and they all agree with us. Like, really? Then why don't you have them speak out? Why is it you're speaking for them then? Maybe that's a clue. Maybe if they were that concerned, they'd be out there, like garden gnome extraordinaire Dr. Fauci. At least I'll say this about Fauci: as much as he's a global criminal, at least he does his own stunts, so to speak. Just saying. So,
well, I'm impressed by your knowledge of the environment, but not as impressed as I am by Greta Thunberg's, right? Because
she's so smart.
now if you want to talk experts, right, you go to Greta.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with this. Yes.
Dare you?
Yes.
I do
How can I compare to her wisdom and extraordinarily depth of how dare you, Cheryl?
Talk about exploiting children, right? That's the left, the Democrats, completely.
What really bothers me about the left here, the liberals who are going on about these wind turbines, and I wanted to bring this up, but just Scotty brought it up in the chat here, and I wanted to highlight this now. These liberals are always like, we have to save the planet, save the animals, save the whales. The wind turbines across the Atlantic coast have killed, I believe it was over 1,600 whales since, was it 2014 or 2016 or something like that?
Yeah.
Was earlier than that. Either way, it was a small sample size, and there's things they're sticking at there are killing whales.
Yeah, and let's not forget the eagles and all the other birds, right?
They don't care about the eagle. That's an American symbol.
But Cheryl, you brought this where I wanted to go, is that the media will take a Greta Thunberg and basically give her literally a global stage and let her say whatever the hell she wants, whenever she wants. And it's all wrong. And if you actually try to pin her down, if you listen to what she's saying, you find out very quickly there's no science behind her. It's all just this fear mongering. And then people like me who actually do have a degree, we're seen as the problem because we actually point out, it's like, hey, I actually am concerned about the environment. And one of the things that we are ignoring because big corporations pay the left to ignore it is plastic. Plastics are creating huge problems. There she is. How dare you Chris. Really,
How dare me?
she's. How dare
Well,
you? And
the,
and
the,
and my point is that we have real climate issues. The issues regarding the use of lithium in the environment and where it goes. Some people were talking about this in the chat. Lithium's poison. If you don't properly dispose of those batteries, you are literally poisoning your environment in ways that are not easily recoverable. Plastics, Cheryl, I don't know if you knew this. There was a study saying that all the plastics that are in our food and everything has led to a drop in the number of sperm in men, and that may explain the beta boy. Maybe that's what they're doing here. They want more beta boys, beta boys for these guys.
Yeah. And
So, but there are real issues. But somehow the media, you guys aren't part of that crowd. I mean, you guys are great. Newsmax is great, but I'm saying the mainstream media ignores experts like me and promote her. So how do we fight that?
well, by having alternative media, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in America, we still do have the First Amendment. We have the free market, and we have the right of any citizen to start their own media outlet. And just look to the success of Newsmax over the years, right? Look
We're going
when
public. They're going public. Yeah.
Yeah. And, go back in time a little bit too, when Fox News was, just a fledgling, and CNN used to regularly mock the idea of Fox News. And now we're CNN versus Fox News. So, the idea of the media, I think you really hit one of the nails on the head here, because none of this other stuff would be possible. None of this agenda of Marxism steamrolling through America and pretending like Joe Biden is a brain surgeon in IQ and so forth. None of it would be possible without the courtesy of the media right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is one of the biggest dangers. And I say this being a member of the media for over, 25, 30 years. I see it from the inside, and it's grown worse and more bolder.
Yeah. Interesting. By the way, someone in the chat saying that Greta Thunberg is a time traveler. I guess maybe she was from the medieval times as a small dwarf who actually helped the Catholics go after the Jews in the great what was that thing? What was that? It's in the movie. The Inquisition. What a show. I
there we
bet you're
go.
wishing that world go. I think she was part of the Inquisition. Just saying. She's got that kind of face. Just saying.
Nobody
she's
expected
on
a Spanish
Wendy's.
one, though.
I think she's
Huh?
the Wendy's girl.
The
Really.
Wendy's girl.
Now, she's not as good on Twitter as the Wendy's girl.
No. So, but maybe when she grows up, I think she'll become another Hillary Clinton. What do you think?
Oh gosh.
I don't know. By the way, Cheryl, I've asked this question to other guests, and I hope you don't mind. Who do you think has darker upper hair lift? Is it Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton? Just asking. I don't know if it's important or not, but I ask it. So
That is the question of the decade,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right? It's on everybody's minds. That's
Well, the second question I ask everybody, and nobody's answered so far, and I got to ask you because this is kind of a running question. What does vodka ice cream taste like?
What is what?
Vodka
Oh,
ice cream.
vodka?
Vodka.
Vodka ice
Yeah,
cream?
Nancy seems to eat a lot of it, and nobody seems to know what it tastes like. So I'm asking for friends.
You know what? I've never even heard of it, so I don't know.
You need to hang around with Nancy more often, and friends of Nancy. How dare you, Tony? That's right. How dare you? So, but
Well, there we go.
Well, let's continue the discussion of the media because you're a media person, and I got drafted to being a media person. Once I was, removed from my clandestine status and sent into being a whistleblower, I kind of, it's like virginity. You're not going back to be a clandestine guy once you're public. Just saying. So, my point being, and I'm going somewhere with this, is that as a former intelligence officer who was heavily verified, I mean, one of the things we talked a little bit about my book before, Operation Dark Heart. One of the things that someone like me who spends most of their life undercover has a hard time getting is credibility. So it's great when the very organization that hates you says, "Oh yeah, he's a real spy and we hate him." It's like, well, you verified I'm real, so there you go. It's like the publisher said, "Yeah, we got verification, so we're happy to go." But that's my point, is that when it came time, by the fact that I'm a vilified, I might add too, by Defense Intelligence, a verified intelligence officer. When it came to saying, no, that Hunter Biden hard drive, that's real, I was completely drowned it out. a handful of publications, you guys, Newsmax, accepted that, hey, my opinion is as important as the 51 knuckleheads who said it was fake. And it turns out here we are, Hunter Biden convicted, the hard drive used as a key component of that. We were right, but we're never going to get an apology, are we?
No, there's no apology forthcoming. And really, if the left had its way, all these voices would still be censored. If it hadn't been for Elon Musk buying Twitter and giving conservatives a sizable platform, once again, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now about Hunter Biden being convicted, because it wouldn't be a thing. So, there's no apology, and the left will continue to try and stifle and censor conservative voices and truths.
Well, they need to, because they want nobody to find out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, but this is where I challenge all of us here, because I live in a rural community where most people now will not even say they're Democrats. One of the guys who ran for office was a former sheriff. He was a Democrat. He ran for clerk of courts as an independent, and he won as an independent. But I asked him about it. I said, and I consider him a friend. It's like, hey, I noticed that you're not running as a Democrat. He says, oh, I'd be killed as a Democrat right now. And his values are more conservative than they are Democrats. So I think a lot of folks are recognizing their party. JFK would be considered a conservative at this point, as far as I can tell, based on the fact that he was very pragmatic and practical. And I don't think he was all for this censorship of everything. And so how do we go about trying to convince those who, I don't consider all Democrats bad. I consider some who are misguided, some who have been ignoring the reality. How do we get through to them, Cheryl, and tell them and get them to wake up and say, you're being lied to by your own party?
Yeah, it's a hard thing, right? Because a lot of people don't pay attention to the news as much as, we do, as much as your listeners and watchers do. A lot of people just kind of zombie through life and then, pull a lever at election time. And that's that. They think they've done their good citizenship and good duty and so forth. But I actually think what you just detailed about the guy running as independent, not Democrat, is a sign of the growing backlash and growing awareness of the far leftist nuts that have taken over the Democrat Party. And I think they're going to sort of implode. I think they're going to naturally have to either move more center and more moderate, or they're just going to be dismissed as a party that is no longer serving American interests.
So that's where I want to go with our last few minutes of the discussion. So my friend Blaine Holt, Brigadier General Blaine Holt, Blaine and I are friends. We know we're as Chris Salcedo calls us, the national security bros, which I'm not sure if I like that or not, but okay. Foreign and domestic. I know, it's like, really? Is this like Breaking Bad?
It could have been just
brothers, the Chicken Brothers.
It could have been the National Security Pals.
I know.
With a dynamic duo. There we go. But then you got to pick who's Batman, who's Robin.
The dynamic duel. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I can compare us to the Avengers. He's like Captain America, and I'm like Iron Man, and Tony Stark. So. No, I'm more like Tony Stark, and he's more like the straight up guy. I do things to get in trouble like Tony Stark. So just saying. So
I like it.
Anyway, back to the topic. I don't mean to distract us, but I always do. The issue, as far as I'm concerned, is we look at the two-state solution. Blaine always calls it a three-state solution. That Biden is focused on a three-state solution, and that is Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are the three states he's focused on, and yet somehow we're supposed to believe that these knuckleheads are trying to negotiate in good faith to end the. I don't think Biden gives one cup of tapioca about Palestine or the Palestinians. I think he would sell them down the river if he saw political benefit. But the only reason he's giving any credence to any of the issues regarding Palestine or Hamas is because he needs those states. So what do you think, Cheryl?
Well, I do think from his perspective, that's the reason that he's going along with what I actually think is the bigger narrative here is the the anti-Israel agenda that is being pushed through his administration.
No
I
doubt.
think he's looking at it as a voting issue for for him
Yep.
to win votes and keep votes. But I think the larger narrative here is that there's an actual active, very anti-Semitic agenda that's being pushed through this White House, and Joe Biden just isn't capable in his mind right now enough to recognize it and deal with it.
So, what are we left to do between now and November? Because I do believe that Trump's going to change this. I don't think Trump is going to be milquetoast about how to help the Israelis. And I think, do you think Bibi is regretting sucking up to Biden at this point? By the way, because he basically when Biden won, I'm using air quotes as my friend Chris Plant always does.
Yeah, there we go.
As when Biden won, Bibi is one of the first to congratulate him. What do you think? Do you think it was a bad move by Bibi to do that?
I've heard other people, very smart people, who say that it indeed was a bad move. But I look at it more as he was thinking pragmatically. Israel, America, historic allies, and so forth. Israel needs America in terms of funding for defense and so forth. So I think he was just throwing out, the towel or whatever, just to show that amicable relations from Israel's side would go forth. I just saw it as something pragmatic, really.
But
I
in
do want to
the
add in
end,
this. I want to
yeah,
add
go
this
ahead, I'm sorry.
for both you, Tony and Cheryl.
Yeah.
It was Netanyahu who tried to negotiate or work with Hamas before the attacks. So let's keep that in mind as well.
Well, look, I know Tony Zinni and General Zinni bemoaned the fact that during the early 2000s, he was trying to work for a two-state solution. Now, Zinni walked away. I don't think Tony would mind me talking about this. He was frustrated with both sides. He said neither side really wants to resolve this. So I'm just reflecting what he says. Like, nobody really wanted to get to the bottom of this. And Zinni's a very action-oriented guy. It's like, I just want to get this resolved. He's a Marine. I mean, it's like, he just wanted to get it done. And I trust that Zinni wanted to do it. It's like, I want to find a solution. So I'm not casting aspersions here at all. But I just think that Obama, before Biden, had given indications they were anti-Semitic. So I understand what you're saying about, you had to be conciliatory. I get it. But Cheryl, I don't think the current Democrats like Jews. Boy, that's pretty blunt, but I just put it out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in the Democrat Party, definitely the squad, right? There's some very open hostility to the Jewish nation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
There are still some holdouts in the Democrat Party who are pro-Israel and who are Jewish themselves. So I wouldn't paint the whole party that way. But this party in general, I would paint it as completely ineffective in showing Israel and the world that America still stands strong in Israel's camps. And that's why we're seeing Hamas continue, right? Hamas should have been eradicated long ago, would have been under Trump, probably wouldn't even have attacked under Trump. And then we see Hezbollah and Iran launching missiles and so forth. So it's a party that's ineffective.
So I now that we're talking about Jews in Congress, Chuck doesn't seem to be all that happy with the Israelis either. And I got a question for you. Is it true that the character of Miss Piggy was based on Amy Schumer? Is that true? I don't know.
There are similarities.
I don't know
that
these
you
things.
bring that up.
I don't know these things, so I'm just
Right.
asking. So.
Right. For a friend, I get it.
I want to take you back. I want to take you guys back to 2012, and I believe it was September when President Obama said, and this goes into what you guys were just talking about.
Yeah.
President Obama said to the United Nations, it was September 25th, 2012, the future, or 24th, the future must not belong to those who slander the prophet of Islam. That's one of your signals. It could have been one of those, as the Democrats put it, dog whistles, if you will. But it's interesting how we put it in that respect. All things considered, John Quincy Adams warned us about negotiating with the Muslims back in, or certain Muslim sects back in the day when he was president. So let's just keep that in mind. So it was known that a lot of them, and I believe Quincy Adams, and I'm going to paraphrase it, he said they're going to tell you something, but turn around and not do it. Hamas themselves said, well, if Israel's going to have a ceasefire, we're just going to regroup and do the same thing we did in October.
Yeah. So,
And we're going
by
to
the way, apparently someone's saying in the chat that Schumer likes raw hamburgers. I don't know how they know that. And they didn't really clarify. It's like, really? It's
There
possible,
was
I
a
suppose.
headline. He put a slice of cheese on a raw hamburger.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Chucky?
and he got
Chuck
mocked
did
for
that?
it. I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
Well, there
you
you
guys
go.
were
I didn't know that. I learned something every day from the audience. So
Now, you all were talking about Miss Piggy and Amy Schumer. Well, you got me thinking
Yes.
about Chuck Schumer and which cartoon character he's based upon. And I used to read
Yeah.
this old comic strip called Mallard Fillmore. And the guy in the middle
yeah.
is Mr. Noseworthy. That, my friends, is Chuck Schumer.
Ah,
That's a good likeness.
That's his liberal boss. That's Mallard's
Yeah.
ultra liberal boss at WFDR.
there he is.
And he dresses like Nadler. So he looks like on the from the neck
Oh my
up,
God,
it's
Jerry
Schumer.
Nadler.
The neck down is
Oh.
Jerry Nadler.
So if you put
called
Joe
Jerry
Biden,
Nadler the Penguin? Who labeled him the Penguin?
boy, that's a great description. He
think that
looks
was
just
you,
like him,
Tony.
though. The Penguin from the first Batman.
Batman. And yes.
I think he's
Yeah,
more like
he was
Egg
good. He
Foo,
was-
but that's a different story.
Yeah. So, well, I do want to, for the last few minutes we have here, we're almost done with the show, and it's been Cheryl. Thank you for being here today.
Sure. Thanks
Show
for
her
having me.
show her blog again, Chris. The bold and beautiful, the bold and
I'll take it.
yeah, it's good. There it is, bold and blunt.
The
Well,
bold,
I
the
think
blunt,
it's
and the
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. It's all the above. So check her out. She's great. She has quite, I like following on Twitter too, because you're pretty pointed out there, and that's great.
Yes.
And then all the other things. And I think it's fun that we talk about all these things and kind of put a little bit of an edge on the discussion. So speaking of edge, you brought up we brought up Jerry Nadler, and boy, I don't know how to say this. If you put Jerry Adler and Joe Biden in an auditorium, which one would clear a cloud out quicker, clear the crowd out quicker with the use of their Depends? Who do you think would fill the Depends more quickly? I don't know about that. Well, it's interesting because, well, I mean, so I'm going to say this because I'm saying it because I'm pissed about it, because at the World War II, who's that?
That is Jerry
Squad.
Nadler's twin brother, Officer Sweet Chuck from the Police Academy movie.
Well, he's a lot skinnier than Adler, but yeah. Anyway, so my issue, Cheryl, is that at the 80th anniversary of D-Day, I think Biden badly embarrassed us, and even the European media caught on to it. Like he's wandering around at the G7. It was terrible, and I mean, I looked at his facial expressions on stage, and I'm just telling you, it looked like he was doing something in his Depends when he was trying to sit down. It was just embarrassing.
It's a total face slap, total dishonor.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Comparable to him checking his watch as our Patriots got loaded off the airplane from Afghanistan.
How are we supposed to accept this as normal? Or, oh, it's just Biden being Biden. Really? Well, I don't think that we should have a president who is that badly mentally compromised that he doesn't have control of his own biological functions. That's the way I look at it. He should never have been on stage, ever.
Yeah, ditto to that. And the fact that he still has support in America, 30-40% at times, according to polls, is shocking to me. Who are these people who like Joe Biden still to this day?
Yeah, I know.
Well, they don't like Joe Biden. They never did. They just hate Donald Trump because they were told to. It's the orange man bad vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I got to do another read before we go, but I'll get that done here in a second. Cheryl, thank you again for being here today. We'd like to have you back if you don't mind. And then anytime you have things you want to talk about, like I think we went through some relevant issues to start off the week for our audience to think about. They're very active. And I think that as we get into the political silly season, it's going to get sillier. We've got the Biden convention coming up. I believe it's going to be like Chicago all over again. I think it's going to be like Chicago 19 is it 69? It was the convention and where they went nuts, or 68? Was it 60? I think it was 68.
68, I think it was 68.
68. I think it's going to be like that for the Democrats because of all the different inherent conflicts within their own party. And then we got the Trump, the issue regarding Trump going to jail, and that's going to be huge. So we'd like to have you come back and give us your thoughts on that if you don't mind.
Love to, and come back on my show as well, Tony. Love to have you.
I'd love to.
All
No,
right.
we had a great discussion. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Here's what will happen. Tony's people, which is me, will call your people. Okay.
Which is me. Right. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks, Cheryl. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Well, let me do another. Let me do another read here, Chris. You still there?
Yeah, I'm always here. I'm always here.
All right, we're going to do Patriot Supply. So, folks, another day, another breaking news story. We talked about a lot this morning. So, we talked about kind of the inherent failures of government regarding some of their spending, overwhelming debt, all these other stupid programs that they spend money on that benefit only the politicians. So, it's time for you to be prepared. You need to get prepared with VNN.com. Prepare with VNN.com. It's My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply will provide you emergency food. Who doesn't need food? Well, everybody I know needs food, especially if you're Jerry Nadler. As a matter of fact, if I were Jerry Nadler, I'd be lining up to get 5 of these things, just saying. But you're not, and we're not. So we want you to go out and buy something for you and your family. And that's what we're talking about here. You need to go to My Patriot Supply. Since 2008, they have helped millions of people. I've got their stuff upstairs in my little food stash. And so get yours right now. Go to preparewithvnn.com. Their food kits offer 2,000 calorie a day meals. These things are important. They're ultra durable, 4-layer packaging, and last up to 25 years. This stuff's going to hang around and be available when you need it. So again, don't wait. Be prepared. Don't live in fear. Take back control of your future and be confident in what you have. Because food isn't just food, it's freedom. And in this case, you need this freedom just in case. Stock up on those food kits today. Again, preparewithvnn.com before the saving runs out. Preparewithvnn.com. There's a $200 offer. Get a 3-month food kit, $200 off. You will thank us later. So anyway, that's it for today. Chris, are you still there?
Always. And well,
All right,
sort of.
so-
I mean, did you say that to Joe Biden? Joe, were you still there?
Well, they never get an answer, so I think they gave up asking. Just saying, it's like,
There we
okay,
go.
Joe.
So I'm going to have some ice cream later on, so I am here when you ask me. Okay, how about that?
So anyway, everybody, thanks for showing up today. We had a great audience as usual. We appreciate your inputs and comments. We always try to monitor. Obviously, I can't monitor everything because, I'm not Greta Thunberg. I don't have like overwhelming ability to absorb everything and just spout things off like her. Chris, you're not like Greta Thunberg either, are you? Just saying. You don't
No,
really look
I'm
like
not.
her.
I tell you, I'm not as smart as her because she is so. I mean, she is like smarter than everybody, as you know. And
If smartness was a person, that would be her, right? I mean, it's
Right.
like she is like, it's like if you look at the dictionary, that's smart. That's like she's got the picture like this is smart. So that's her.
Yes.
How could you
Hella
not love
smart.
that? I mean,
How dare you? Tony?
wow, just like how dare I? So anyway, how dare you all? How dare you all be here for our show? But speaking of daring, we dare you to be here again Friday morning. Chris and I will be back with. I think we've got some special guests coming up this Friday, don't we, Chris?
We're working
I've
on
heard
that. We
rumors.
got some. We'll have
I've
some
heard rumors.
surprises going. Yes.
Yeah, we think we have some definite surprises coming this Friday. So
That's better.
be sure to be here Friday. How dare you, Tony? And you're going to see who we dare to bring on. And these are legit folks too, right? I mean, these aren't people we met at the back of the VFW bar 10 days
Most
ago,
of them
right?
are.
I mean, these are real
Yeah, most of
people.
them are.
These are-
There we go.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you want to come on our show? No, these are good people. No, these people are legit Hollywood and media and I mean rock and roll legends. We just kind of put it out there.
We have a lot of good stuff happening. Let's put it. And of
Yeah.
course, national security legends too. We're going to be having a lot of those and people around the people around the spectrum, if you will.
That's right. And we're even going to bring the ones that are still breathing on, right? We're not going to be like Joe Biden. It's like, yeah. So, all right. Thanks, folks, for being here. It was always fun. we'll see you again next on Friday. And again, just bear with us. We're refining the show as we go, but I think things are getting better. You being here always helps, and we'll see you then.
Hey,